And we're there awkwardly.
Right. We're here with BennetTheSage and his fabulous new haircut.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, super. I'm one of the people who fucking listens to the Tool Shed, like regularly, basically. Like, whenever they're dropped.
Thank you.
So, like every year, the deadline for anime gets pushed further and further. What anime are you looking forward to the most, and what are you dreading the most?
Looking forward to talking about an anime band.
Yeah.
I guess I would like to talk about Death Note at some point or another, because I think that Death Note was a turning point as far as anime was concerned over here, because from like 2004 to about 2008 there was a lull in popularity, and there was a huge dip in what was omnipresent in the scene. Like Full Metal Alchemist provided that need for a little bit, but it just wasn't. It was just
sunglasses, right?
Yeah, but Full Metal Alchemist didn't have as much staying power as like animes that like Death Note came in like a ton of bricks and just kind of demolished everything around it. And and with the recent news that Death Note is going to be rebooted into a television series for Netflix, was it a television series or like a movie?
I'm pretty sure it's a series. Right?
It's a series, but to see it kind of come back into the spotlight the way it has, I think is
it would be timely.
It would be very timely. As far as what I'm dreading the most, well, I've always said that I will review One Piece when it ends. So the fact that it will never end, I think I'm pretty safe. But nothing lasts forever. So I'll answer with One Piece as far as what I'm dreading the most.
What's your take on the whole casting on the new series of Death Note while we're at it?
Well, it's an adaptation. It's supposed to be an adaptation, and I guess if they're going to shift the story to America and they're going to have be an American story, I don't see the problem with it casting white actors. But if they're going to try to pull like a Ghost in the Shell and they're going to set it in Hong Kong or in Japan and they're still casting white actors, that's no. I mean, if you're going to adapt the story, adapt the story. Don't try to pick and choose and such.
In my opinion, Death Note is basically ripe for like reinvention because they already did all the adaptations. They did the live action movies already. So if you want to do something like mix it up, bring it to another country, right now is the time. Like it's already packaged up. You can just add more to it now.
Exactly. So I think the only way to take Death Note is in a different direction, because as you said, they've already made the live action movies in Japan, and for the most part I've heard they've been pretty good. I haven't seen them, but
I've also just heard that they were decent.
They were just decent. So I guess at the risk of sounding like you're not being pure about this, I'm actually kind of looking forward to the Netflix series.
Same, along with the different casting, like maybe there might be some twists in there that they didn't have in the original one.
Yeah, it's a lot of room for growth, and I'm just glad that they're kind of taking this in this direction, because if they're just going to just do a shot-for-shot remake, just with white actors in America, what's the point?
Put that ultimate twist in there, make it so that Matt survives.
Like just completely truncate off the Mellows part of the story. Just when Elle dies, that's where the series ended for me, and I think that's where it ended for a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people just kind of take out the hard job, throw it in the ocean. I'm done with this.
Exactly.
I had something else for life for me.
Wrestling.
All right, thank you, mysterious camera voice.
Oh, you're welcome.
Did you watch the recent pay-per-view?
For WWE? The Money in the Bank?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
What did you think of it?
My only immediate thought right now is that if you're going to have Ellsworth, take the Money in the Bank and just give it to Carmella. Stick with it. Don't renege on it on SmackDown later and then, just push it off for a week. You're just wasting everyone's time. Like, if Carmella still wins it, then it's just, all right, now you just remove all the heat. And that's, Carmella needs it. And if somebody else wins it, that just means that, well, we made a mistake and let's renege on what we were trying to do. And so, for me, it's just a lose-lose situation.
On top of that, I think it was also, like, paced oddly that they had, like, 2 fuck finishes in a row.
Yeah.
That I'm pretty sure that definitely pissed a lot of people off.
Oh, yeah. Like, when you have two dirty finishes like that, you're just begging for the audience to turn on you, which, credit to the audience in, what was it? I believe it was St. Louis? Yeah, it was St. Louis because it was Randy Orton's hometown. So credit to them, they were on board throughout pretty much the entirety of it. I mean, like, if it was in Chicago, they would have been soured on the entire event immediately after the Money in the Bank.
There was no miscellaneous chants as far as I know. And no one throwing shit in the ring. So.
No, they were properly on Randy Orton's side, and they were properly booing, not ironically booing, but properly booing Jinder Mahal. So, as far as the proper booking is concerned, as far as where they wanted to take that match, they couldn't have asked for a better turnout. So. But to see the pay-per-view turn out the way it did, I'm not as sour on it as most are. I think that there was a place for dirty finishes, maybe not back-to-back.
It was like, story-wise, they weren't bad, but the fact that they were back-to-back, it was...
It's like, is this going to be a heel night? Is this going to be a heel night? And for the most part, it was. When you see the Usos basically take their ball and go home and realize that they can't beat the New Day is... Or on one hand, that makes me, like, that was on the right side. That was on the correct booking, I think, because you don't necessarily want the New Day to win the Tag Team Championships on Money in the Bank specifically. I think it belongs in a bigger arena like a SummerSlam. And I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to build that road up and get, that hunger, as it were, for the New Day after they've had it for, what was it, like 400 and some odd days?
Yeah.
So, like, they're trying to build up that intensity, like, oh, these fucking Usos, they're just this coward chicken shit little
nice little heel move, just like get them some nice heat.
Get them the nice heat. Like, if it just wasn't for the fact that it was booked right after the Women's Money in the Bank, then I think a lot of people wouldn't have been too bad on it. But on the other hand, like, what do you put in that position? Because you don't put the championship match right after Women's Money in the Bank, and you wouldn't necessarily put in the, especially with how that match turned out, the Women's Championship match in that stinker of a match, a match that quite frankly didn't really happen. So I think they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. At the very least, you could say that it was a well-worked match. I mean, just the dirty finish is what soured on it. So considering how they were going to book the other one, so you were either going to let the heel championship retain after Women's Money in the Bank, or you would follow that with Naomi, beating Lana in a glorified squash match. There was no way to go from there. So, from that perspective, I guess I would say that there was no winning in that situation. Especially if they were committed to the booking as they were. But the overall pay-per-view, especially the main event, I love that main event more than I loved any other main event so far this year. I mean, even that Fatal 5-Way, which I thought single-handedly saved Extreme Rules. Single-handedly, otherwise that would have been the worst pay-per-view of the year, hands down. I think it still is technically the worst, even with that Fatal 5-Way, but that's like a big asterisk. Now there's some doubt.
You gotta calculate up the numbers.
Exactly. We gotta wait until
technically this one was...
At least, I thought Great Balls of Fire was going to be a big old lump of coal for us, but then we got the Samoa Joe Brock Lesnar fight, and at the very least, now there's some hype. The hype is real. Yeah!
I really like how Samoa Joe is selling the name.
Yeah.
Like, the way he says it just, like, makes me accept it. That Great Balls of Fire.
I was dreading the promos for that pay-per-view because I was expecting, like, they're not really going to put the Jerry Lee Lewis song. And of course they're going to use Of course they are. How could they not if they're going to call the pay-per-view Great Balls of Fire?
What would have been worse if they just put in, like, a really shitty cover?
You know what? WWE, I wouldn't put it past them. But the fact that they're so committed to these 50s bits, like the drive-in movie theater, and
that promo for the drive-in movie theater thing was really well edited.
It
like,
was
hats off to the editor.
Like hats off to them to taking the wrestling business has always been taking the shit and making shinola out of it, as Al Snow once said, and that's what the editor's job is more often than not, because giving them a bunch of garbled promos and a bunch of spotty like this shot wasn't supposed to be this way, so we're just gonna have to edit around it to make it look as good as possible for the hype package.
Just here, please try to edit this dump we took.
please, and every time they come in through the clutch, or at least they came in as close as they can considering what they had. So to see them try to spin this goofy, let's be frank here, goofy ass pay-per-view name into something legit is, you know what? At least it has an identity. It's a really, really silly and stupid identity, but it's not going to be like a battleground or I hate to say it, it's not going to be like a backlash, because when you really think about those names, they don't necessarily instill an idea of what the pay-per-view is going to be about. Like Money in the Bank. All right, that's a particular title match. Elimination Chamber, particular match rather, and WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Big Four. Those are, at the very least, there's a legacy to it. There is something to it, but just sort of like these filler pay-per-views, like I said, like the Battlegrounds and your Backlashes and your Paybacks. There's nothing really to grab onto. But now, at least with Great Balls of Fire, it is so silly sounding, it is so stupid, it's so dumb that you have to remember it. I mean, there's sometimes a method to Vince McMahon's madness, and I guess that's the method rather.
And I guess if you make a whatever name, like something that's not too tied to anything, name for a pay-per-view, then you don't really have to write towards it.
Yeah, I think there is something to that, especially with the slow.
If they maybe had some loose ends hanging, and it was we could probably just end this storyline here. They could just put it in that pay-per-view.
Exactly, just sort of this wasn't shaping out as what we thought. Let's just truncate it right here, and let's just clean slate. Clean slate going towards what would be SummerSlam, because they're trying to hype up. It's weird that they're actually booking a Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman ambulance match at Balls of Fire. I mean, I want to see it, but I would think that would be something for SummerSlam, not necessarily, not necessarily Great Balls of Fire, unless they're going to blow off at SummerSlam with something even bigger than that, which I don't know what would be more appropriate than an ambulance match for them. I mean, they're not going to go like a street fight, because the last street fight we had was WrestleMania 32 with Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose, and that was just a hot turd sandwich. That was. I think they're going to stay away from that.
Didn't they not even go anywhere?
No.
How short was that fight?
It was 10 minutes at the very least.
They walked around the ring a little bit, some stuff got knocked over, and then they got back in.
And Brock Lesnar took some shots with a kendo stick, and
that was the least amount of weapons used in a street fight.
Yeah, that was to say nothing of it, other than it was disappointing. However, not as disappointing as the Ambrose Asylum match later that year. Although at the very least there was a thumbtack spot. You know what? That's the frustrating thing. That's the frustrating. Yeah, exactly. The thumbtack spot. I'm kind of a mark for them. But it's actually kind of frustrating, because when you hear PG wrestling, PG era wrestling, and you're thinking, okay, so that means no more street fights, no more intentional blading, no more of that, and you temper your expectations. But then all of a sudden you see, wait a minute, thumbtacks are not off the table for the PG era. I mean, I get why you don't want to overdo them, but once a year maybe, just in Extreme Rules, nothing extreme happened. I'm sure there's more than enough people that would love to take a bump at the thumbtacks. I mean, if anything, just to help them get over with the crowd, because nothing gets you over with the crowd like saying, "Hey, I'm willing to do something stupidly dangerous. You better cheer for me, or this pain would be for nothing." But As far as where I think, but to circle on back to Money in the Bank, I liked the pay-per-view enough for what it was trying to do. I didn't think of it as a end pay-per-view. I think of it more of a transitional pay-per-view, and I think for what that for in that respect it did its job. However, Baron Corbin as Mr. Money in the Bank chafes at me, I suppose. I mean, there's the mark in me that wants, AJ Styles, and I also want Shinsuke Nakamura, but I didn't even like Ziggler as Mr. Money in the Bank, but Baron Corbin, it just feels, considering how often he's been jobbing to Sami Zayn recently, it just feels like a do-over in certain
like, where's this coming from?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's been jobbing with Zayn for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I guess you could chalk that up to, well, we need to gain back some momentum. And
I'm wondering if they start making him a bigger guy, what are they gonna do with his hair situation?
Yeah, it's
like he can't pull off the stupid Hulk Hogan hair neck curtain. So, like, are they gonna send him to Bosley's, or are they just gonna shave it off? And they can't really shave it off and have him do the beard because there's already too many bald bearded dudes.
Exactly.
In there already, so.
Exactly. I mean, you say what you will about his hairline, at least it's distinctive. But I would say, if you book him in a hair versus hair match, that is going to be the most lopsided. Of course, Baron Corbin's going to lose the hair versus hair match. I mean, it is the most openly, transparent booking possible. But I would say that as horrible as it makes him look, I'd say keep it. Because, he's heel, and that hair just makes him look ridiculous and stupid, and it's like perfect heat magnet for him. And as long as he doesn't mind looking like a total goof, then sure, let him keep it for as long as he wants.
I see that.
I'd want to do something more about his beady rat size. The man looks like a skull. From his sunken in, black as coal, beady little eyes, and his not at all impressive physique. He has edge syndrome. He has this, he's tall and he has strong looking arms, but his torso is this disaster area of, it's like he's like fat buff without being fat. It's like that Futurama bit where it's like, careful, he has a layer of fat that could easily be construed for muscle. It's definitely, he hits all my anger buttons, and for a heel, that's perfect. That's the perfect right amount of annoyances to tag into a mark like me. But Mr. Money in the Bank, though, especially if he's going to cash in on gender, really, he's going to try to possibly cash in on gender. Why? Heel versus heel. Nobody's going to want to watch. It's like, whoever wins, we lose.
Yeah, I'm wondering where they're going to go with that, because they already pushed the whole everyone who's had the Money in the Bank, everyone became a champion. So this is going to be your way.
Yeah, everyone who's ever cashed in Money in the Bank has won it, except for the genius. I'm even blanking on his name. I feel so bad. The Princeton University guy.
Good boy.
Damien Sandow.
Yeah,
there we are. Damien Sandow. Sorry, Sandow. I'm sorry your career in TNA didn't exactly pan out.
Sorry, Rex.
Sorries indeed. Sorries all around. But I heard tell that Jinder was going to keep that belt all the way up to SummerSlam, and then I'm thinking Randy Orton is probably going to finally capture it from him in SummerSlam. And at that point, you can have a Randy Orton versus Baron Corbin feud. But I don't know. That's the same problem, though, because Randy Orton is a tweener.
Yeah.
I mean, he's face if he's in St. Louis, but he's a tweener. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that dynamic that I think Baron Corbin needs. Like all his feuds, well, all the ones people remember recently have been between real, honest to God, dyed-in-the-wool baby faces. Your Sami Zayn's, your Kalisto's. Although the less we talk about him and Kalisto, the better. That embarrassing chair match at TLC. Embarrassing chair match. But he is
Tables, chairs, and botches. Man.
Botches. Oh my. But to see him to try to have this program with either tweener Randy Orton or possibly heel Jinder Mahal is just a recipe for saying, hey, we think we need this belt on him because he's going to be our mainline heel in future coming. But right now, the booking with the championship is centered on two guys. One is not a face, and the other one is not a face at all. So whatever was going to happen between that, I think if I was booking, I would not have him cash in on Randy Orton or Jinder. I would play the long game and wait until something closer to like Survivor Series and have him cash in on possibly if we had like Randy Orton against like an AJ Styles. I would book them against that. If AJ wins, he'd get cashed in on Baron Corbin, and that's the full AJ Styles face turn. Because AJ needs to be cheered, like they're already cheering for AJ, and he's sort of in that tweener area. Same thing with Randy Orton, but this is a full-on face turn, and I think him and Baron Corbin can work well together. If Baron Corbin can add maybe 2 more moves to his repertoire, I mean, nothing wrong with a punch match, but you can't have that last for 20 minutes. If you're gonna be a punch match McGee, 5 minutes or less. Just keep it short and sweet.
Running it back to Randy Orton.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they doing with Spooky McCult Leader? Like, they just bring him back just to bury him all over again, and then he comes back with another outfit in order to get buried in again.
I've
gained the power.
I am a god who constantly loses. Well, in that respect, yeah, like you kept getting killed on SmackDown and Raw, and you keep coming back, so yeah, I guess you are a god. But
rub the ashes of the house on my body. I'm stronger now, Randy.
Put those glasses on, you kind of pulled the Stevie Wonder there. But talk about frustrating booking. Bray Wyatt, to me, is the epitome of good but not good enough champion. Like him winning at Elimination Chamber, just like, what? And then that led to that program with Randy Orton. And
apparently the bookers and the writers were also like, what? When did we write that?
Wasn't he supposed to go to Raw after WrestleMania? How is this going to make... He's got the championship... Oh! Oops, indeed. We can't have both. I know that Brock Lesnar is going to be the Universal Champion, and he will wrestle, and he's the exact anti-definition of a fighting champion. Like he shows up like Santa Claus once a year. And so I guess with Bray, it's just like Bray has enough staying power as a personality that he doesn't necessarily need a championship. Like his tag team partnership with Luke Harper, it was with Randy Orton, and Luke Harper was basically the glorified handmaiden that held the belts. Like that was his first championship he ever held in WWE, and he's been on the main roster for the last 5-6 years, I want to say. Like he started in like 2010 with the Nexus, right? So throughout like his entire WWE career, he's been, he wasn't even in the championship picture. And all of a sudden he gets not only did he win the tag team championship and then dropped it to American Alpha 2 weeks later. All right. But he was inserted into an Elimination Chamber ostensibly to fill in a void because you need 6 people, and the 6 top guys you can find does include Bray Wyatt for SmackDown. But then
now you understand why I have the monopod.
Yeah, I do. But your camera's almost dying, so that's why I'm like this. Because I want to get all of it in, because I don't want to stop it.
But to say that, Bray Wyatt come out on top with as the champion, especially having to pin John Cena and AJ Styles to do it, and he wasn't like the last one out either. He was like 4th, maybe 3rd. He was not in like. He did not just like number 6 and then like
time to steamroll all the time, people.
Exactly.
He had to actually fight in there for a while.
He actually had to, and he was good. He held his own, and to see him like emerge on top, it's like wow, they're really pushing him. They are legit booking him as a strong contender and a strong champion rather. But then the Randy Orton like projector match happened, and then it's just completely like. like letting the air out of a Macy's Day Parade balloon, you know, just like. And he hasn't really recovered since. Even though, although I will say, in a perverse sort of way, the House of Horrors match kind of reminded me a great deal of the glory days of Wrestle Crap. Like if he's a magnet for that kind of stuff, at the very least, that's an identity, and that's not something that's going to be easily taken away from him, whether he likes it or not. I think it's so long as he's in technically the championship picture without actually being the champion, I think that's the best place for him. He's a glorified jobber in that sense, but yeah, but
make him entertaining at least.
Yeah, exactly. Make him entertaining and help get the faces over. That's that's a good spot for him, I think. I mean, I will say that him being beaten is way more of a beat, even still today, than saying beating Bo Dallas, his brother.
Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, that's not exactly high praise, but he's doing his job. It's something. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from him. It's something.
All right. We could obviously go fucking forever, but we gotta eat, and you gotta.
Just one last thing I just wanted to ask. You know OSW, right?
OSW?
Yeah, OSW Review, the Old School Wrestling Podcast.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I haven't seen anything.
So basically, they have like a concept of boys, which is basically guys that never ascended to that top level of world title, but you like them, but you never really like to say that you like them. There's sort of that.
Yeah.
Who would you say your boys would be in wrestling?
Goldust, definitely. Goldust, I think, is the greatest mid-carder to have ever wrestled in WWE. He was a perennial part of that roster. He had interesting matches. He had technically good matches, and he knew how to gain the appropriate heat back in the mid-90s. He committed to that idea of this sexually liberated and yet making people uncomfortable idea. He was the guy who said, hey, wrestling can be kind of gay. Two oiled up dudes getting all close to each other and rubbing up against each other. How is that not at least a little gay? And he just took that idea and he brought it up to the forefront of it, and he made people uncomfortable with that idea. It's this thing that you loved since you were probably a little kid and you grew up with, could be a little gay. And him running with that, and him putting up that great moment where he was wrestling with Razor Ramon, and he just starts rubbing his hands all down Razor's gut and that, and he just, what the dude, it's a wrestling match, man. Just to see him do that was just funny to me back then as it is today. And I have to applaud Dustin Reynolds to commit so hard in an era where gimmicks like that died and died hard. Your Crash Hollies, your Coons, your, if I could be so bold as to say it, even your the Hog brothers, Phineas I. Godwin and I forgot what was his brother, D.I.G. and H.O.G. Horse Harry, the Godwins and stuff. Your IRSs rather, your IRSs, and even your $1 Million Man. When those gimmicks that either lived on or died hard, and when they died hard.
Yeah, I died too.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Okay. There you are. Okay, we got photobombed. All right. Anything can happen here at Too Many Games.
You know the best thing is, I'll leave it at that.
All right.
Literally the same thing happened with Mark.
We will share that later.